It's been 16 years since the release of Red Dead Redemption, but despite that, there are still plenty of details I'm positive most people haven't noticed. One of the biggest is the many biblical references throughout the entire game, and just how much inspiration Rockstar took from the Bible while writing Red Dead Redemption. Now, some of these details are pretty obvious. For example, there's a nun who gives you a rosary once you reach the highest honor level, there's handfuls of mission titles that are taken directly from the Bible, and there's even a character which many people theorize is the devil, but we'll get to the strange man later. As a whole, redemption is a Christian concept. It's the idea that even if someone is a bad person, they can still change, be forgiven, and find a path towards becoming better. But even if you aren't religious, the idea still applies. And that's the core theme of both Red Dead Redemption games, more so with Arthur than John. But both stories follow two people who start out as deeply flawed individuals, only to slowly grow, change, and become better versions of themselves. Now let's get right into the actual inspiration and connections that Red Dead Redemption has with the Bible and its biblical themes. If there's one thing Rockstar loves to do, it's to take names from the Bible and give them to their characters. For example, John, Abigail, Seth. There's even a character literally named Moses, who's one of the most commonly known names from the Bible. But they don't stop there. They also weave biblical similarities into those characters and their stories, like John Marston, Dutch Van der Linde, and the Van der Linde gang as a whole. Now, even though Dutch is absolutely nothing like Jesus, he does serve a similar role. The apostles were asked to trust Jesus' teachings and his ultimate mission. And Dutch constantly asks the gang to have faith in him, that he'll lead them into the right direction and that he has a plan. Furthermore, just as there were betrayals among the apostles, the Van der Linde gang was plagued by betrayal, ultimately causing it to fall apart. There's also many signs pointing towards Dutch being a false prophet. He constantly tells the gang about a promised land, a place where everything will finally be okay, but as we all know, that day never comes. There's even parallels between Dutch and Lucifer. Both reject authority. Lucifer rejects God, while Dutch rejects the law and the change that America was going through at the time. They are also both incredibly charismatic and were arguably the best in their respective domains. Dutch is the gang's greatest outlaw, a master marksman with a silver tongue, capable of talking his way out of almost any situation. Likewise, Lucifer was considered God's greatest angel before his fall from grace. Even Dutch's final moments can be seen as symbolic of that same fall from grace. And lastly, both their downfalls were caused by their own ego and pride getting in the way. Then there's John Marston. In the Bible, there are two prominent figures named John, John the Baptist and John the Apostle. John Marston shares similarities with both, but the strongest parallel is with John the Apostle. Out of all the apostles, John is traditionally believed to have been the last to die. Likewise, John Marston is the last core member of the Van der Linde gang to die. Of course, characters like Abigail, Jack, Tilly, and Mary Beth all survived beyond him, but they weren't part of the gang's core outlaws. Now let's shift and talk about one of the most interesting characters in Red Dead Redemption, the Strange Man. If you're unfamiliar with him, the Strange Man randomly appears wearing a black suit and a top hat. He offers John Marston a series of missions where you're forced to choose between helping or harming others. The Strange Man essentially has John judge people based on his own morals. There are countless theories about who the Strange Man really is, but they almost always come back to the same two possibilities, God or Satan. Some believe he's God because he seemingly possesses unlimited power, and when John Marston yells, "Damn you!" at him, the Strange Man replies, "Many have." Some fans think this is a reference to people taking God's name in vain. Personally though, I think he has more in common with Satan, and who better to say the reasoning behind that than John Marston himself.
The problem that I have with the Strange Man being God, this is just my opinion. The Strange Man is like a tricky dude, you know? And he's creepy, and I don't think that God would do that. I don't believe that God would creep someone out. I kind of feel like the Strange Man more, to me, would be like the devil than God. That's my opinion.
Now, like I said at the start of the video, there are handfuls of mission titles taken directly from the Bible. For example, you have The Last Enemy Shall Be Destroyed, taken from 1 Corinthians 15:26, Bear One Another's Burden, inspired by Galatians 6:2, and The Truth Will Set You Free from John 8:32. Then lastly, Spare the Rod, Spoil the Bandit from Proverbs 13:24. And just like in Red Dead Redemption 2, the events that take place in these missions often mirror or relate to the biblical passages they were named after. For example, the mission Bear One Another's Burdens. In Galatians 6, Paul tells Christians to help carry each other's burdens, but he also reminds them that everyone has their own burden to carry. That's exactly what happens in this mission. John travels with Chief Nastaz into Dutch's territory, and throughout the mission he's constantly dealing with everyone else's problems. He's helping Nastaz and literally carrying him to safety, and he's constantly cleaning up the government's mess, all while trying to save his own family. Just like Galatians 6, the mission is about carrying other people's burdens while still carrying your own. Now, I'll be honest, like I said before, Rockstar does this in Red Dead Redemption 2 as well, and in that game the connections are a lot more literal. Even though in Red Dead Redemption 1 the mission titles and their biblical parallels aren't quite as compelling, you can still make connections between the missions and the Bible verses they were based on. They're just not nearly as obvious or on the nose as they are in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, are there as many biblical references in the first Red Dead Redemption as there are in the second? No, not even close. But despite that, there are still plenty of biblical references throughout the entire game that make it hard to deny that the writers took inspiration from the Bible. It was clearly something on the writers' minds, considering the game includes a nun, a character who could potentially represent Satan, and even allows you to obtain a rosary like I mentioned earlier. Plus, the lead writer of most Rockstar games, Dan Houser, literally graduated from the University of Oxford, which can be also referred to as Christ Church, since it also serves as a cathedral. So I believe it's safe to say all of these biblical references and connections were highly intentional. But anyways, that is going to be the very end of this video. If you've made it this far and have enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. And if you want to see more videos by me, I have a lot, including how Red Dead Redemption 2 took more inspiration from the Bible than you think. Practically the exact same thing I did for this video, but the Red Dead Redemption 2 version. And comment down below what you think. Did Red Dead Redemption 1 take inspiration from the Bible, or am I just crazy? I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.